Okay, now let's look at fixing that hair. Let's hide the rulers and we'll just zoom in. We're going to actually zoom in a little here. You can see what the problem is. See how the hair is not quite even up at the top and all? We'll go to Liquify. And we're going to zoom in on the hair a little bit. All right, take a small brush and we're going to kind of move this up a little bit. Move this down a little bit, just kind of massage the whole head up and down a little bit. There we go. So you don't see as big of a dip in different spots. Move that up a little bit. And pull that down a little bit. And there we go. Just kind of little by little, making very small moves. Kind of balance everything out a little bit. Now, you can see some of the hair looks a little bendy. We're going to fix that in a minute, and this probably needs to come in just a little bit. There we go. Now, what you can do is shrink the edges, shrink the size of the brush once you have this all kind of out. Shrink the size. And then you can go, without touching the edges, just pull this stuff kind of back down. If it looks a little wavy, you can kind of pull it back down or push this up a little so it all looks kind of uniform. There we go. This looks a little wavy just right in there. But you see how I'm keeping my brush away from the outside edge? I'm over here a little bit more and tuck that in perhaps a little bit. That looks a little better. And sometimes you have to, again, back off to see what you're really doing. Let's move this up a little rounder. Just really tiny little movements work best with the brush, with the Liquify. And let's see how we're looking. And then we're going to just tuck the cheeks just a little bit. A tiny tuck over here. A tiny tuck over there. And then maybe move the chin up a little bit so it doesn't, we didn't make it things look long. And I think we're pretty much there. Let's click OK and see what we've got. Oh, look at what we did for the hair. Sweet. Look. All pretty subtle. And look at the cheeks coming in just that little tiny bit. Ah, very nice. Very, very nice. Now, let's make a flattened layer up on top. So here comes the challenge. This one's going to be the tough one, is how are we going to handle moving these shoulders? And that is the question. As soon as it merges here, we'll take a look, because I have an idea. It's not a great idea, but it is an idea. There's two different ways you can go about this. Let's back off. So we know we kind of want the shoulders to kind of be down like this. We could use Liquify and try to move everything down, but I think what we might be able to do instead is actually just pick up some of this, maybe pick up the other side here, put it up on its own layer. So we have just that one little chunk. If you look over here in the layers palette, whoops, layers panel, there's one little chunk there. Take that chunk and flip it horizontally. It went off screen, but I chose flip horizontal. And bring it over here. It's going to create its own problems, right, of trying to match the tones. That is going to create a little problem. I only need the edge of this though, right? So let's just say it was like that. So what can we do to make this work? First, let's add a layer mask and paint away this stuff here and see what we've got. We might be able to pull this off after all. Ooh, pretty close. Let's zoom in now, see what we've got. All right. Well, the problem is you've got a little, it's a little dark here on the edges. I think we can probably get rid of most of this. Let's move it over a little bit too. I'm using the arrow keys to nudge it over so it lines up right there. There we go. It lined up pretty nicely there. You can see where the old shoulder is versus where the new shoulder is. So let's go over here and just see if we can paint a little bit more of this in there and get rid of it. See how it's kind of dark right there? See if we can kind of get right to that edge. We might be able to pull this off after all. And look, it looks pretty good. There we go. We cheated and it worked. All right, now that came together fairly easy. If we were not able to do that, if we were not able to come up with this jump around trick, what would be my second guess? I'll go back to this layer. My second guess would have been to probably use the, well, there's three things you could do. I said there's two. The other one you could do is try to literally just pull this down, just literally pull this. Let me see if we go and just pull this down to here and then clone the difference back in. You'll have to pull this over like that. All right, and you can see now you're going to have some cloning work. Let's do this. When I was back here, Shift Command, let's go Command J. Puts a copy of it up on its own layer. And then we can just kind of move this down a little bit and move it over. So something like that probably wouldn't be as noticeable. Though it does seem like her shoulder's sloping down more than it is here, but I still think it's not as noticeable. All right, so we actually have a copy up here. Let's hide this and let's see how much copy we can get rid of. Yeah, looks like it's going to work too, doesn't it? That was easier than I thought it was going to be. You got to watch out right on that edge there. I painted a little bit over too much, so I just hit a big undo, Command Z on Mac or Control Z on PC. But you can see we were able to fix that pretty easily. So that's the second method. It needs a little bit more refinement, but that's certainly a little better. I missed this area down there. The third choice is to go down and push it down, which is going to be the toughest one. Let's go ahead and we'll get rid of these two, make another duplicate layer, and let's push it down using Liquify. And we're just going to then push it down a bit. Using little tiny movements. Let's get a bigger brush. I think we're going to have to move the whole thing at once. Yeah, see, this is going to be a tougher move. Yeah, this is going to create some issues. Oh, but that's what this is all about, right? I mean, none of this is a one-click fix. Yeah, you can see we need a little work here. Let's bring this. All right, so let's make a smaller brush here and kind of pull this down a little bit inside here so you're not really touching that. Well, you can see what I'm going to have to do. Just keep going back and forth with this until we get it to look realistic and get it to look natural. That's not so bad. I don't think well, this is a little edge here is a little sketchy, but let's see what we've got. Yeah, I have to work that edge a little bit. I can just see from looking at it, it would need a little more working. But you can see it could be done, right? I didn't do a beautiful job on it, but you can see that you could kind of angle that down. I think I actually went a little too far is the problem. I could actually push it up just a little bit and, you know, help this a little bit as well. But that would be the third choice. I actually like either one of the other choices better for this particular version. But that's kind of how we would finish it off. And lastly, let me just see if let's clear this guide out of here. If there's anything else, let's go ahead actually and bring up one of these that we like better. Which one do we like better? Any one of these, right? Well, we'll leave them both out of there now at this point. So let's just see if there's anything else that really needs to be done. Everything else looks good. The hair looks good. Eyes look great. Lips might be perhaps a little sharper. So let's just duplicate that layer. Apply some sharpening. And let's hide the sharpened layer behind a black mask and maybe just paint over the lips a little bit. All right, now the other two, well, let's go ahead and finish this off. All right, and then let's just flatten the image now. We don't have to flatten, we'll flatten it discard the other layers. We're not going to go back and retouch it. But if you wanted to keep all the different ones, you could keep all the... Now, you can go back to Lightroom, and Lightroom will maintain all of your layers intact. You won't see them there, but the image will look like a flattened image. Actually, you know what? We'll go ahead and just show you that. Let's hit cancel. Let's just close and save. That's what takes it back to Lightroom. All right. And this version is going to go back to Lightroom. So let's go ahead and take it over there. Give it a second here. All right, so here we're back in Lightroom. There's the file has come over, all right, and it has all of its layers still intact. So if I wanted to reopen this in Photoshop and still see the layers, I would press Command E on Mac, and you see how it says edit a copy and all? You would choose edit original only in this one case because it's a layered file. And then when you open that back up in Photoshop, you'll see all the layers. This is the only time I open edit original, is when I have a layered file, but it looks like it's a flattened file here. Now, let's take a look at the original and the finished version side by side here. Let's take a look, and you can see the difference. Here is the original file over here, and then the fully retouched image over here. And you can see it's come a ways. Look at the eyes in particular. Look at the eyes and different things like that. But we still have lots of texture in the skin, even though the skin is much smoother. The eyes are sharper. They're more contrasty. They capture your attention more. There's a lot of sculpting and smoothing and all that kind of stuff. And we'll kind of zoom in here a little bit, so you can see the difference. Oh, let's just get back zoomed in here. Side by side, here's the retouched eye, and here's the original eye. And we'll just kind of move around here so you can see the differences there in the skin. Really quite a difference there. There we go. Now, that being said, I would do the exact same retouches to the other images from this series, except for one thing. The image that was turned to the side, we're going to have to get rid of the hair. We're going to do that in the next segment.